All right, ladies and gentlemen,
boys and girls,
and children of all ages,
Huntsville, Alabama proudly presents to you.
I still love pro wrestling. ... I think. And I always remember the 3 dots when you're like searching.
There's a failed attempt out there. We not gonna put a spotlight on them, but there's a failed attempt that they only did a couple episodes. Don't be nice.
We gotta be nice. We introducing ourselves into this world of wrestling podcast.
Yes. And honestly, this has been a long time coming because we always talk about fans that used to watch wrestling. You never really shed light on the people that still watch it, that's been watching it for so long, and why they still watch it.
And I think that's why why the name is what it is. You know, the I Love Pro Wrestling, I think. Because you still love it, but, you know, with all the changes, and especially us coming up through the early 80s through the 90s, mostly the 90s. Let's get it clear, because we were born in the late 80s. So mostly through the 90s, through the new generation and all that, through the WCW Nitro Attitude Era. And then, you know, to now, you know, the way that things have changed in the past makes you question, do you still love wrestling?
Yeah. And it's like, you know how they say things taste different as you get older. You know, things, sometimes it hits different because, you know, as a child, when you watching something like you watching superheroes, wrestlers were like superheroes. And to me, it still are, you know, because they're above life characters, larger than life, as they used to say. You know, you had people like the Ultimate Warrior, you had Hulk Hogan, all these guys, the Undertaker, these mythical guys that were huge. And you believe that when you saw these cats in person, they could rip you in half. And they didn't look like your average human beings. So as a child, when you see that, it's like, yo, it's amazing. It makes your eyes pop. It's like, yo, you know. But I think as you get older, and the way the internet has done things now, hence why we're here today, they kind of pulled the curtain back on a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So to still be a fan and still have that ability to believe,
yeah,
and to like it to that level, you really got to have a love for it.
Because when we were younger, like internet was in the early stages. Mm-hmm. So like only a select few had like cell phones and internet. Mm-hmm. So like, for example, like so when Kevin Nash, Diesel, and Scott Hall and the contract was up, we didn't know that.
No.
Like, so when they came to WCW, it was like, whoa.
That's back when you actually had shockers. Like, what the?
Like, what is he doing here?
Yeah.
So, I can't, like, I started watching, at first, I wasn't watching WWF. Like, my dad he was watching WCW on Saturday night on TBS. Pretty sure it was TBS. Yeah, it was TBS.
It was TBS.
Mm-hmm. That's when I first saw my first wrestling show. Like, you know, he had it on like 6:05. He was in the living room, and I remember like walking past the TV, and I just seen this match, and I sat down and I watched it, and I was enamored. Like, just wow. Like the slams, the trash talking. So that's when I fell in love with wrestling. It was I want to say either 94 or 95 WCW. I'm not sure, but it was way back. So that's when I fell in love with it. And then, you know, I started having friends that had the same love for it. Hence, my friend, actually family member right next to me. And I fell in love even more with it. So that's when I started. And then started learning about more wrestling, started learning about the WWF at the time. And, you know, this when I started loving like Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, believe it or not. Even though I thought he was a little flamboyant, but I still liked him because the attitude, the glistening glamour of him, attracted me to him. believe it or not, as a kid.
I mean, he was the pretty boy that was flashy, that was winning belts. So, you know, he had the women, he had the belts, and I mean, hey.
And believe it or not, it's the stuff that we complain about back, like people complain about back then, but what actually drawn me to the WWF was they had like a dentist and had like a hockey player. And I thought that was, I'm like, wow, hockey player wrestling? So, like, we joke about it now, but when I was a kid, I was just enamored, like, wow, we got a hockey player. I remember, like, it was the Coon. I remember, like, oh, wow, we got a hockey player? My dad was like, boy. But, yeah, so that actually drew me to the WWF in, like, 95. Like, I didn't know about storylines. I didn't know about the backstage politics of it. Like, I just was on WWF, and I saw hockey. Yeah. And I was drawn in from there, believe it or not. It wasn't the work rate. It wasn't a 5-star match. It was just this hockey player who threw his gloves down and was ready to fight.
Yep, that's it. It's kind of like the NBA or the NFL before you start learning to follow stats and all of that, and you just watch it because it's your favorite player on TV and they just doing their thing, and that's who you're rooting for. You're not really looking at the numbers as a kid. You just enjoying watching Michael Jordan play, or nowadays watching LeBron play, or Steph Curry, or whoever you want to call. Mm-hmm. We just enjoy turning on the TV and seeing the people that we liked, whether it was the Bretts, the Undertakers, fast forward a little more, The Rock, Stone Cold, whoever it was, we tuned in just to see what they was doing. We didn't care that they left their shoes on the bus and somebody tripped over them and now they getting fined however much money, like all that stuff that comes out now, none of that mattered to us back then. We just enjoyed the product. And, you know, and me personally, I got into wrestling on similar circumstances. My dad watched it, my granddaddy watched it, as early as I can remember. But I really sat down and looked at the character aspect when I got a video game. On Nintendo back in the day. Some of y'all might remember the WrestleMania game with Hulk Hogan on the front. Ooh. And he rips his shirt open on the front. And it had everybody, Hulk Hogan, Honky Tonk Man, Macho Man, Ted DiBiase, everybody that was kind of hot during that time. And I really sat down and watched. And it was like, oh, okay. And these are the same guys that my uncles talk about, that my dad talk about, that my granddad talk about. And, you know, at that point, I'm trying to figure out, shoot, how can I see more? You go into the video store. For those of you who remember video stores, you can you looking for VHS tapes to rent and all this, so you can see more and get as much content as possible, because it's like you like it. I want to find more of it, and then you're gonna find the television slots, and then boom, it's up from there.
Yeah. And then word of mouth at school from people watching it. And by the way, I'm CLCOOL4. And introduce yourself.
And it's your boy, TEZZ, aka TEZZ. You already know.
All right. Now, it's two of us right now. Two of us. And you know, we're going to rock it till the wheels fall off. But we do have two other friends that we're going to bring sooner or later to this podcast. Mm-hmm. Who, the friends that I said that I connected with and became wrestling fans, you will meet them. So I can't wait for that to happen. But we're like, I'm loving where wrestling is going back to now as far as Triple H taking over. And we're gonna get to all that. We're gonna get into like Attitude Era stuff, Ruthless Aggression stuff, along with today's stuff. Like we want to talk about it all. We want to hear your gripes. We want to hear any ideas you might have for us to talk about. Anything that, you know, you want us to cover.
Yes.
Like, we're down.
Because we will be watching. And, you know, thing is, one of the complaints that you get right now, and I'm going to use AEW for an example, is they talk about it's too much content to consume. And for the average person that works a 9 to 5 or a 12 or whatever you work and you have a life, it's a lot of content to consume. So, you know, we are going to do our best top to bottom to make sure we catch all of the main shows. Now we'll catch like Elevation and Dark and Main Event, maybe every once in a while if it's a match worth mentioning.
Yeah.
But we gonna cover your main.
The only thing y'all really watch. Let's be honest.
When the last time you heard, man? You heard what happened on Dark, on Elevation, Main Event. You don't.
Especially Main Event. You don't.
And so we're going to cover your Raw. We're going to cover your SmackDowns. We're going to cover, of course, your pay-per-views.
Buddy, premium events.
My bad. Premium live event. I don't know. Triple H got us saying wrestling in belts
hospital,
again. And hospitals.
I'm like, wow, we said hospital? Like, it's crazy.
I'm about to say
it's crazy to think that the word wrestling is like a taboo word on a wrestling show. Well, this is the NBA sports show. Like, imagine that. They say everything but basketball.
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense. Vince wanted to, and I get his vision. It's kind of like what he does with the people he brings up from NXT that he didn't touch. It's like if it wasn't something he created, he wanted to have his own patent on it. And I get it.
I guess. But did he create? I don't think he created Bayley. I don't think he created Sasha. I don't think he created Charlotte.
Nope.
I don't think he created Bianca Belair. He didn't create Rhea Ripley.
Nope. Well, I mean, and notice everybody you named was female.
I know.
Like the women is probably the few things that got through his fingers that he didn't mess up. Most of the men that came up.
You notice the women's division has been better than ever before. And deep.
Yes. But, you know, Triple H, he nurtured the women's division because at one point in time, for those of you who've been fans for a long period of time that can remember the Sunnies and the Sables in 96 and 97, where they were just basically pin-up models and they'd come out wearing wrestler shirts and they would do random segments for no reason. They'd be valet or whatever, but you had like maybe one or two girls and then you brought in a few girls for them to beat. Or whatever, have a random bikini contest, and then the Divas situation. Like for y'all who remember it, once upon a time, women were just eye candy in wrestling. They weren't seen as true competitors
at all.
So that was probably
like there were times in the WWF and WCW where there was no women's division.
Yeah, I mean you had poor Alundra Blaze, which I still don't understand, and this is funny to me. Alundra Blaze, if y'all remember, she was one of the first people to make the jump from WCW to from WWF to WCW.
Yeah.
And she threw the belt away famously on TV at the commentator's desk with Eric Bischoff. Now, she left WWF because there was no women's division and Vince didn't have respect. To go to WCW where there was no women's division and Eric Bischoff had respect.
Dude, like they did I think she came in like late 95. I'm pretty sure it was late 95. And then by because I think she talented the Japanese girl. I can't think of her name right now. She was Sunny on them.
Nikado or
was
something
that who
like
it was? Okay, no. Who was in WWF? It was I can't think of the woman in WCW.
The lady with the crazy hair.
And she was Sunny on them. And they did a retirement match with her. And like in the middle of '96, I want to say April, May of '96, with Medusa. Medusa retired because she lost the matches. I think I want to say the Great American Bash. I have to look it up, but people who know what I'm talking. So she came in '95 and had a retirement match in like '90. Hold on, hold on. I think it was my bad. I think the retirement match was in like '97. So she was there for like a year and a half, and then they did like a retirement.
And then she disappeared and surfaced again around like the 2000s with Evan Courageous.
Yeah.
And we were supposed to forget.
And she had the cruiserweight title.
Yeah. We were supposed to forget that all that happened. She came back with the cosmetic surgery and all that.
Yeah.
You know.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we're going to talk about all that.
Yeah. But we just want to introduce you guys to us and just let y'all know where we're coming from, where we came from, and how we became fans. And you'll learn a little bit more about us each episode, how we think, you know what I'm saying, how we consume this great product we call pro wrestling.
Yes, and we want y'all to take this ride with us. We want y'all to have fun. We want y'all to enjoy yourselves. And I mean, we're going to be interactive. So you talk to us, we talk to you. Let's have fun, man. That's the main thing. Just what pro wrestling is. Let's have fun.
All right, man. And comment, like, subscribe. Right?